I had this feeling welling up inside of me like, this is hard. This is important, and I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna mean something big.
What is up, guys? My name is Logan Chabon, and this is the Defying Odds podcast. In today's episode, I'm interviewing a very good friend of mine. His name is Cody Wanner. He co-founded a video production company a few years ago. He ended up leaving that and daily vlogging for 365 days, amassing 64,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I think the most impressive thing is through those vlogs, through his own videos, through doing freelance, he has inspired multiple people, tons of people, to do video full-time and to make this a full-time career, including myself. I truly tell Cody every time, I think I tell him in this podcast, that you were the reason I started doing video in the first place. You were the reason I was consistent for so long. And ultimately, he was the reason that, we have the studio, that we have a business, that we're doing what we're doing, that we have this podcast. It all started with Cody's inspiration. It all started with Cody's relentless ability to create consistent content and just stick with something for over a year straight. So without further ado, this is a good podcast. I love Cody, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. What is up, guys? My name is Logan Chabon, and this is the Defying Odds podcast. Today I have on somebody who's very inspiring to me. I would actually say that he is the reason that I got into video in the first place. He's the reason I started vlogging. He's the reason I kept going. His name is Cody Wanner. Cody, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, dude. Those are big words, man. Big words. Let's go.
So to go over a little bit of what Cody has done in his life so far, he co-founded a video production company. Then he's daily vlogged for over a year straight. Then he became YouTube's creator on the rise. He got a big following. He ended up leaving the video production company to do YouTube full time. And then in the past year, he took on a job as YouTube strategist. And then he just recently left that job as YouTube strategist.
Yeah.
Like
eight days ago.
Yeah. So a lot going on. A lot's changed since we met.
Yeah.
And I guess just what a career so far, I think it's really cool to see where you started, where I didn't really know you when you started vlogging, and that's kind of when I met you, is when you were in that daily vlogging phase. But you went from nothing to kind of building a cult following behind no small creator, and you were supporting a lot of small creators in order to keep going. So why a year? What made you...
A year of daily vlogging?
Yeah. So, obviously, you were in film. You went to college for film.
Yeah.
You co-founded a video production company. But when you're running a company, what appealed to you about vlogging? Why was that interesting? Why did you want to vlog for a year?
Yeah, so the stuff we were doing at Cap Collective, which still exists to this day and still does this style work, it was, more highly produced, commercial level stuff. And... you could see it on TV, that level of stuff. And so as we were producing all of this sort of content, in my mind and in my interest, my ADHD interest, I was looking at all of the other types of content that were out there, video content. And one of the things that I stumbled across was Casey Neistat on YouTube and vlogging. This is what I've come to call vlog style video. And was just super intrigued by how quick and dirty it was. It's shaky. There's stuff on the sensor. The noise level in New York City is insane. And it's he doesn't care. And he's getting these insane views and he's making money. And he's who is this guy? Mm-hmm. And what type of video content is this? And in my mind, is this the future of what commercial video looks like, right? So that was in probably 2016, I think, that I saw the first Casey video and started religiously watching his daily vlog. And I remember, I have vivid memories of watching it with my oldest daughter, Finley, who at the time she was probably 3 or something, yeah. and or 2 even. And 2017. We were watching, I was watching this. I was getting really intrigued by it. And I thought, I would be good at this. I'm charismatic. I have a lot of energy. I convey a lot of external excitement, or I can do that at least. I would be good at at that style content, I should do that, you know? And I just like sat on that thought for 2 years. And you know, I think there comes a time like in most people's lives, I guess at this point I was, how old would I have been in 2018, 4 years ago? So at this point I was 32 years old, and I just hit this like place, and we probably have like, life's a roller coaster, right? We'll probably have a bunch more of these before we die.
Yeah.
But it's like a place of like, all right, you gotta like do something, bro. You know, like you gotta do something. And I was reading a bunch of like self-help books. Read this book by Grant Cardone, and in the book, like one of the quotes was, "You know what you need to do. Do it." Like, stop saying I should do this. I need to do this. I want to do this, and do it. Do a thing. And immediately vlogging popped in my head. I was like, we've got these 5 cameras. I should just take one home. I should make a vlog. That was on like coming up on 5 years ago. End of December. I took a camera home on the day before Christmas Eve, and did like a little test to make sure, like vlogging in public, make sure I wasn't gonna have a panic attack and like not be able to do it. Passed the test, and yeah, January 1 of 2018 started the daily vlog. When it comes to a year, I don't think I had. You could go back and like look at the footage. I don't think I ever start saying like I'm gonna do this for a year until later on in the year.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was pretty open ended. I was like, maybe I'll just do it for as long as I need to, for as long as like feels right, or like until something happens, you know. And then, you know, as the year went on, the 1 year mark just started to make more sense, as like you could stop then and try to transition to like higher, not production value, but higher quality content.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the long answer, dude. Good luck cutting that up.
So what made you stick with it? You know, you could do these. Why didn't you do it 5 days a week? Why did you make yourself do it every single day?
Yeah, it was just like, it's so funny because in one sense it was like a joke, and in another sense it was like the most important, serious thing in the world to me, you know? Like it was something I almost flippantly decided to do, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with like the discipline of it, and the kind of the daily commitment, and like daily almost climax of it, of like, okay, like I captured enough footage now, like I could start editing.
Yeah.
Like I'm done. I got something done today. And then like you get to hit upload every day. It was just this, for me, and the way my brain works, it was just this daily completion of something that like existed.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sort of daily, I mean, talk about like streaks and habit building and atomic habits and 1% improvement and all that sort of stuff. Like daily vlogging was that.
Yeah.
You know, and every day getting to see a product that now exists in the world was just like the most addicting thing to me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it wasn't, you know, of course it was hard. There was hard times. There was times when I, you know, ended up making a video that I wasn't super proud of, or like a one take of me just sitting at a table talking. Like I remember near the beginning, we went to a funeral, funeral of a family friend. And I was like, you know, I didn't record anything the whole day, obviously.
Yeah.
And like I got home and now it's like 10 p.m. and I'm like, I need to post something tomorrow. And I just remember like sitting down at my table, and I had like my computer light, again with like the low production value, but my computer light, and I forget even what I talked about, but I talked about something about like loving, you know, like making the most of your days sort of thing. And that was the vlog for the next day, you know? So it was hard for sure, but it was just so incredibly fulfilling that it would have been almost harder to stop, you know?
And to make this relatable to a lot more people, how do you think that relates to actual habits on a daily basis? You know, like you were making yourself every single day do this thing, regardless of what the thing is, you were consistent with it. You never missed for over a year straight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking like when I got past day 8, I was like, all right, I've done this for like a week. Like I can do it. I can do this. I did it for a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
And then similar thing happened at day 30. It was like a month down. And like I can picture right now the file structure, you know, of like day 1, day 2, day 3. And like that's how I was structuring it on my hard drive. And I remember seeing 30 and I was like, man, that's a lot of videos.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened at day 100. And I just remember thinking at day 100, like, this is insane. I have never been this committed to a thing like in my life, you know, a work thing, you know, obviously I've always been very committed to my wife and my family and even friends like before that, you know, like there's stuff I've been committed to, but this was like a work thing that I was crushing and it like, again, just so addictive.
Yeah.
Right. And learning so much. And I think, dude, it's so crazy because it's not one thing. It's multiple things. So like, yes, there's the daily habit of it. Yes, there's the slow growth that you're seeing of like, oh, I'm getting better at talking on camera. I'm like not as weird looking. I can more naturally like say what I want to say. And like, that was cool. You know, so there's that like slow growth part of it. Yeah. That was cool. But there was also this component of like, this is publicly visible. This is out there. This is something that people know that I'm doing. And if I don't do it, then I'm not letting them down, but I'm like letting myself down. It's where like I said I was going to do it. And now I and all these people know that I didn't do it. Yeah. And like that was because of it being sort of externally facing, that felt a little bit more like unacceptable to me.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, those two factors were massive contributors. Then there was this kind of deep foundational, hardly able for me to recognize or admit it, that like feeling that I knew this was going somewhere and I knew it was going to be a life-changing thing for me if I just stuck with it. Yeah. It was like that kind of blind faith of like, no, I think that this is really big. I think that this is a big thing for me. You know, I think this is changing my life.
Yeah.
And like to say that to someone at day 64, it felt ridiculous. Like I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it to people. I wouldn't talk about it. But I'm pretty sure, you know, hindsight's 2020 and retrospect is wonderful. But I'm pretty sure even back then, I had this feeling welling up inside of me like, this is hard. This is important, and I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna mean something big, you know?
Yeah.
So that was there. I'm sure there's other components too, like just these little factors that played into this being kind of the perfect, most addicting habit to build in my life.
Yeah, and as somebody who was inspired by that, and I found you along that journey, I was inspired to do the same thing for myself. I daily vlogged for I think 270 days, and obviously you get so many skills out of it, but I literally went from not knowing how to use a camera to be inspired by somebody just like you were inspired by Casey, to then the only reason I stopped is because I had a full-time career in video production then.
Right.
So like I went from not knowing how to use a camera in 270 days to a full-time career in it, and obviously since then it's just scaled and scaled and scaled.
Right.
All because I was just committed to doing something every single day.
Like you cannot put a price tag on 270 days of learning a skill.
No.
You know, it's like I can't think of anything that I've ever committed that much like focus to. You know, 270 days of doing a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, day in and day out. It's game changing. But yeah, I think the tough thing for most people is like finding the thing with the right number of attributes, external, internal, whatever, that gets you to, that pulls you into continuously doing it.
Yeah.
You know, but I truly think that people are unstoppable.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I think the seed of this is inside of everybody. You know, maybe it doesn't have to do with making money or building a career or video or any of that stuff, social media at all. Maybe it has something to do with like farming or like figuring out a new type of seed that feeds the world or like whatever. But I think I think this is inside everybody. I think it's just a matter of figuring out how to get addicted to pursuing it.
Yeah. And I think one thing that helps people, you know, get addicted is getting a huge why, you know? So to follow this up with a question, at what point of the journey of you co-founding Cap Collective, the video production company, and doing daily vlogging on the side now, at what part of the journey did you realize that was a bigger opportunity and that's what you wanted to do, and then you ended up leaving Cap? Yeah.
So, I mean, I think as I like convinced myself more and more that this style of video was the future, I was I wasn't trying to, but I was pulling back more and more from like the love of creating highly produced stuff. And so that really came to a head, I would say, in maybe August or September of 2018, where I like sat down with my partners and was like, hey, I want to move the company in this direction. I want to do this style video for our clients. I don't want to try to compete with Coca-Cola with a $2 million budget and a Super Bowl spot. You know, I want to compete on this level because, you know, look how much better content we can create on this level as compared to trying to compete with Coke where we're not matching up, you know? And my partner's just like, we get it. Like, that's awesome. We totally understand, but that is not what we want to do. And it was really the first time in 5 years of owning the business together that we had come to kind of like an impasse of, okay, Cody wants to go that way. We want to go this way. What do we do? You know? And so that's when the conversation of a buyout started, was like, okay, well, what would it look like if you know, you were to buy Cody out of the company? And it went fast, dude. It went fast. So like we might have had that first conversation. We might have started talking about that at the end of September. And then November 1st, 2018, we had signed the documents for them to buy my 50% of the company completely out. So November 2018, I was like full-time freelance video, UGC style, vlog style video.
Yeah. So through all of this, how did you go about facing adversity? And you can also tie this into dealing with and controlling and even capitalizing on your strengths of ADHD.
Yeah. Life is freaking full of adversity, right? No one's like, that's a cliche at this point. Everyone just like wakes up and feels adversity smash them in the face, right? So of course, anytime you're stretching yourself, anytime you're going through something new, anytime you're like, you know, learning a new skill or continuing to learn a new skill after the initial like rush of it has worn off, and now you're just like in the doldrums of like, what am I doing? You know, like nobody cares about vlog 237. They care about vlog number 1. And like, if you could look at the playlist, you can see this. They care about vlog number 1 and vlog number 365.
Yeah.
Like those two videos. I mean, and there's some in the middle where like obviously they popped off for different reasons.
Yeah.
But like people love to talk about starts and ends, right? But in the middle is where the work is done. You know, in the middle is where the adversity is met, the obstacle is the way, and you learn what you learn and what you're capable of and who you are and what you're willing to do, you know, how you're willing to meet it. So yeah, when it comes to ADHD, I think in a lot of ways, daily vlogging was like the perfect medicine for ADHD because of its sort of daily, every day you got to see the results of what you had put in the day before. But, you know, I just started realizing, and like, this is just the internet, that like you really can kind of just pick the most tiniest little nichest thing and just like this exact thing that you want to focus on. And there's this massive contingent of people who are interested in that thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I heard Seth Rogen say it the other day, where it was like, the more specific they made their movies around like what the tiniest, most specific things that they thought were funny, like the more reach the movies got.
Yeah.
You know, the more people fell in love with them. And on the internet, it's the same exact thing. You know, it's like you can really just zero in, and like, because the internet is so massive and algorithms are just looking for content that's going to work for specific types of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you can find these people. You called them a cult following earlier.
Yeah.
You know, but really what that contingent of people is like people who were as obsessed with the idea of taking something from inside their head and putting it out into the world as I was. You know, that's all that it was.
Yeah.
And I was just like intrigued and obsessed by this idea of like, oh man, you thought of something and now it exists.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. And everyone, you know, all the people, the 4,000 members of that group are like, yeah, that is insane. We agree.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, dude, speaking of ADHD, like I don't remember where this started or where it should end, but I think that in so many ways, like Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, when anytime ADHD, a component of ADHD became a struggle for me, I reframed it and thought, okay, if it's a struggle for me, it's a struggle for other people. How do I lean into it and use it as fodder for creating something better? You know, how do I actually take this thing and make that thing be the thing? And that's how I've approached adversity throughout this like 5-year journey. Is Holiday's, which I mean, it's from before. It's like a Stoic saying, or you know, whatever. But the obstacle, the thing that is holding you up, is the path forward.
Yeah.
Figure out how to walk into that thing.
Mm-hmm.
How to like quantum physics mesh blend with it and turn into that obstacle and then come out the other side.
Yeah. To relate my personal life to it, you know, when I make content now and like when I try to deliver value on the internet now, it's always like, what is the biggest problem in my life right now? And normally I turn that into some sort of lesson for myself and for others. And when I look back at my life, really only the past 5-6 years, when I actually started, I really only started because of a major obstacle.
Right.
And then I had, you know, 3 more major health issues. And each time those like points, they're like significant times when I actually made a lot of change. So just backing up, obstacle is the way for me. And I feel like my life's a little bit excessive because mine were major health issues where I was literally on my deathbed each time.
Right.
But I came out of that and grew because of it, you know?
Yeah. I real quick before we move on, I think there's a tendency for the majority of people to shy away from like sharing problems.
Yeah.
To shy away from, oh, that thing was hard. And like you even see this, like we worked on a documentary for a really long time, like 4 years, while I was working with Cap. And there were so many times where we would stop the camera rolling. I would stop the camera rolling because there was tension in the air, or something was happening, some bad thing was happening that, you know, quote unquote bad, some issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, we're not going to roll on this because like, we don't want to show how hard it was to make this documentary. But like problems are the foundation of any good story, of any piece of content that is actually compelling, of literally anything, any good business. It's all about problems and overcoming problems, right? So like, that's something that I had to learn super quickly in the daily vlog is like, oh, something's bugging you? Like, oh, this is a hard thing? okay, that's what the video is about now.
Yeah, that'll be the best
Like,
story that day.
Let me go ahead and showcase how much of a loser I am at, being late or not being able to ideate a whatever or client communication or whatever it is. Like, how can I lean into this stuff? Because that's the stuff that people actually going to resonate with. And like, that's the stuff that has the basic beginning, middle, and end of a story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a hard mentality to switch. But if you can make that switch and start leaning into that stuff, you're gonna be able to at least tell stories a lot better.
Yeah.
If not solve problems a lot better, which means serving more people, which means making more money, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think it comes down to just an internal belief. And a quote that I love is, problems are gifts. Problems are a sign of life. Problems are how we sculpt our souls. And when you truly believe that, you're never scared by a problem. You actually welcome them and approach them that way.
I'm a huge freaking fan of silver linings, man. I'm a huge fan of them. And again, it is natural to like feel a problem in your gut or see a problem externally and be like, this is the death of me. I can't overcome this. This is too big. It's too scary. Woe is me. Like I can't do this. I don't have the skill set to do this. I don't know how to XYZ, whatever it is. But if we can make this minor shift, and it is very minor, of like, okay, here's a problem. It's a big block, right? But on the edge of that block, there's just this little cinematic lens flare from the light behind it, right? And that thing is the silver, the gold, the golden hour lining, right? And if you can figure out, okay, how is this massive problem that seems unconquerable, how is that thing actually an opportunity? What little component of this is actually a good thing? And start focusing on those silver linings, focusing on those opportunities that are literally in every single problem. Your life just gets a lot more big. It grows, man. The capacity grows, the capacity for thought and curiosity and love and joy and passion and purpose and all that stuff. Like it all grows. So yeah, man, I'm just a huge fan. I get bummed out when I see people talking about their problems and not talking about the massive advantage that also came along with the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's there in every single one. So yeah, dude, huge fan of silver linings.
That was great. To move on a little bit, what made you switch gears and go from doing your own thing, doing some freelance work, getting your own clients, to wanting to take on a job?
Yeah, just money, baby. Just money. Yeah, so freelance is, or at least for me, it is and was and still is a roller coaster of, feast and famine. Some months, massive amounts of money, like $12,000 or something, which is big for me, right? Other months, $0. And, having a small family, 2 kids and a wife and needing to provide, like, I saw, for me, I'm very comfortable in that sort of roller coaster situation. But when I see the effect it's having on my wife and my kids, or the potential effect that it could have on my wife and kids, like, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that. So in my mind, it was just, I thought, who am I if I'm not willing to try something new? If I'm not willing to try something different? I haven't been an employee for like 12 years or something. I guess technically I was an employee of Cap Collective, but that was only after we became like that sort of organization or whatever. But, an actual employee I hadn't been since 2012. So almost 11 years ago. I hadn't been an employee. And I'm like, who's to say this isn't the thing for me, So again, open up my mind to the possibility of it. Like a week later, saw a Facebook post of my former boss, Scott Simpson. and he's like, hey, we're looking for a YouTube strategist. If you know anybody that you think would be a good fit for this, send them our way. I'm like, I'd be good at that. I'm like, yeah, I understand strategy. Like, I built a channel. I did a daily vlog. I've got to see inside a bunch of other bigger channels. So I messaged him like, hey, man, I might be a good fit for this as long as it's not like too organized, as long as like there would be a system for me to stay organized. I think I'd be good at it. He's like, great, let's chat. We had an interview. And they're like, yeah, we want to give you the job. And so again, it was like because my mind was open to it, I saw it.
Yeah.
If I hadn't opened my mind to that concept, I wouldn't have seen that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It would have just looked like any other post on Facebook. I don't even know why I was on Facebook. I don't even like Facebook. but I, like all of this stuff,
Yeah.
like I don't know why this happened, but it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so started the job, really just with an owner's mentality, dove into it hardcore and was serving a bunch of clients. And for me, one of the things that makes jobs or tasks exciting is novelty. And so like, how new is it? How interesting is it? How challenging is it? And how urgent is it? Those are kind of like the 4 things that make me do anything as a person with ADHD. And so as you can imagine in the beginning, this is all very new, very interesting, very challenging. I'm looking at analytics that I've never seen before. I'm looking at channels that I'm looking at topics that are new and interesting and amazing. And so just, I'd say for the first maybe 3 months, I was cooking with gas, but I was definitely burning the fuel out. So, like every day I would come home and I would be exhausted, absolutely exhausted. The time was a little bit different there, based out of Texas. So hours were 9 to 6 East Coast time. And, I was like, okay, maybe this won't be able to work like this forever because my kids go to bed at 7. My day's ending at 6. I'm getting home at 6:30. I'm with my kids literally for half an hour a day. Like, that's not okay with me. So there was challenges, right? Kept going. And I think it was, it might've been at this point 6 weeks ago. So I was with the company for 7 months, almost to the day. So around month six, I was having a lot of feelings. And one of the major feelings that hit me and would not stop hitting me was, Cody, you are a creator. You make things. And I would go to sleep and I would wake up and you make things, you make stuff, you build things. Assets, businesses, videos, friendships, relationships, opportunities, impact. And just, it was one of those things where it was like, I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake this. And talked to my boss and just told him, like, this is how I'm feeling, man. Like, he understands this 100% because he built this thing. Yeah. He's an entrepreneur. He's like, bro, I totally get it. I would never want to take that away from you. And so, very, very fantastic sort of, fantastic boss. The hardest part was leaving the team because I love those people, right? It was so fun getting to work with them and getting to be a part of the team and what they were building. But there was this undeniable sense of urgency for me of like, you need to be out building your stuff, your things. And so, that was it for me. And I think something that was very extremely important and in hindsight, like, I learned so much in the job, even just about scaling a business, even about just taking a business from nothing to over $1 million a year. Like, I had never done that. So to get to see someone who had done it and see the whole inner workings of that business, I was like, that created a sense of, oh snap, like, yeah, very possible,
Yeah.
And so I mean, I don't regret that 7 months of working with them at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it challenging? Yes, incredibly challenging, but like some of the best stuff in my life is incredibly challenging. The daily vlog was incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
Selling my company was incredibly challenging. Like, it's not like this stuff is easy, but it's very good. It's very good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't regret it at all, and I learned so much, and I'm excited to be able to kind of take that and utilize it in what I'm building now.
So my favorite trait about you, and something that you attracted me to you, was that you always, not always, but you have high energy. You seem like an optimist. You're always exciting and charismatic, like you said. Where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I think a lot of that it has to do with my personality, like my genes, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's a big piece of it. I think I've talked to a good amount of people who don't have that like natural charisma.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many facets, but like if you're like if you're good with yourself, but you're very low charisma, but you're very good with you're good with it. You've accepted it. Like, this is who I am. And you like it. You like you love yourself. You will attract people just like I attract people.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it to me. I mean, they'll probably be a different type of people. Granted, I'm very attracted to people who are like that too.
Yeah.
So maybe they won't be a different type of people. But I think there is a level of self-acceptance that when you get to a certain level of self-acceptance, you kind of put out an air of, I accept myself. I accept you. We are flawed individuals who are like doing our best to make it in this world, right? And that is attractive. That's attractive to people. So, I think the way I am, I'm a little scattered. I'm a little chaotic. I think that's a part of that does have to do with like my genes and my upbringing and being the baby of the family and all of the stuff, but there is this other piece that I think that is accessible. There is this other piece that I think is accessible to everyone, which is an acceptance of who that person is. And that, I would argue, is one of the most attractive things about people is their acceptance of themselves.
Beautiful. I think that's it. I don't
think I have
any more questions.
Let's go.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. No, this has been an absolute honor. It always blows my mind whenever you say that, like, I was the reason you got into. I was one of the core motivations of getting into video because, like, what you've built is absolutely insane.
I appreciate it.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
That just, it's one of those things where, did you ever feel like, were you ever talking to somebody and they're just like getting down on themselves about what they've accomplished, right? They're like, I just haven't done enough. Like, I don't know what to do next. I don't really know. I'm not feeling great, whatever. And like, you just want to say like, but look how much you've done. Like, look what you have accomplished. And you can go back and like, the old, it's almost Christmas time here. What's that movie? It's a Wonderful Life. Like you go back and like paint the whole picture of their whole life of everything they've done. And there are those things where I don't know if everybody else feels like this, but you look at somebody's life and you're like, if even you only just did that one thing, like that was enough.
Yeah.
You did it, bro. Like, that was enough, And for me, when someone like you, who has built something so incredible, says, you inspired me to get in there. For me, I'm like, Cody, like on my days when I'm feeling like unaccomplished, I'm like, Cody, that was enough. Like you inspired Logan to get going like that.
Yeah.
And that for me, like, that's like a feeling of like, oh my goodness, like I did it. I could do nothing else. I'm not going to do nothing else because I love that feeling. And I love creating impact and inspiring people. But yeah, for me, that's one of those little pebbles that I like put in my jar of like, that was enough.
Yeah.
So thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you. What else do you have going on? Is there anything else you want to give yourself a plug here?
A little plug. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I'm very big into the has ADHD or might have ADHD kind of conversations right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited and interested to and intrigued by helping people who think they might have ADHD just get out there and absolutely crush their goals. I'm building a business around that right now. But yeah, want to keep making fun content on YouTube, so follow me there and chat with me on Twitter. I love Twitter. I love having conversations with strangers all over the world. That's it. That's my plug.
All right, guys, that is the end of this podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Cody is one of my favorite people on the face of this planet, so I really appreciate you listening to this conversation. If you liked it, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment, like this video. If you're listening to the audio-only version, leave a 5-star review, assuming it is 5 stars, because like I said in the past few, I'm pretty sure I'm the only review on my own podcast, so it'd be cool to get a few more. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.